Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And my name is Zach.
and this is where we talk all things Star Wars. And today's episode is a very special episode because it is the episode before we see the Acolyte for the first time ever. I don't think anyone on the podcast has seen a single episode, and I don't think anyone on the podcast knows any details that haven't been revealed to us by Leslie Headland herself, Lucasfilm, junket interviews, stuff on StarWars.com. So we're going to review everything that we know. We're going to start off first in the podcast where we kind of talk about like a brief overview of what we knew before the junkets happened, because when the junkets happened, we got a lot of new information, a lot of new Star Wars databank stuff on StarWars.com. So we'll kind of cut this podcast in half that way, so that if you want to go in blind to the Acolyte before it drops on Tuesday on Disney Plus, we'll let you know before you should maybe turn off the podcast before we go into fine detail that we do know. Not a lot of very spoilery things. I mean, they did let a few things known to us, but I mean, I don't think it's anything revolutionary or stuff that we didn't already kind of guess from marketing and so forth. So of course, before we get started, we do want to thank all of our awesome supporters out there, especially our top tier patron supporters, starting with Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace 1, Liam McCallion, who is in the chat right now. Thank you, Liam. Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Fenrir526, Maya Morris, and Maka Tautala. Thank you so much to everyone out there on the internet, on Patreon, that likes and comments and supports us in a huge way on Patreon. So thank you very much, guys. So
Yeah, thanks a lot. Couldn't be here without you. Hello, Liam.
Liam is out there. We're at a proper viewing time, I think, for Liam. He's across the ocean there, and Bender is here as well. Hey guys. So yeah, the Acolyte. So this thing was dropped on us all the way back in the year 2020. So we're in the year 2024 now. So it was in development, I believe, a little bit before that, and I think Leslie Headland was chosen to create this show at that point in time, and then it got revealed to us at the investor call in 2020, all the way back in 2020. And here's a picture. If you're watching us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, this was the initial logo for the Acolyte. And there you can see Kathleen Kennedy talk about the Acolyte. And the description that was given for this show, I think, got a lot of people hyped up, got me hyped up. And essentially, it was a show with the view of from the dark side, from the bad guys, from the villains. So the official description we have now is the Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. A former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they ever anticipated. So, Zach, what did you think about the Acolyte when it was first announced by Kathleen Kennedy? Did you think it was going to be what we kind of know it is going to be now, or what were your first impressions?
Initially, I thought it would kind of link towards some of the prequel stuff like Darth Plagueis and Palpatine. I thought it kind of give a little more light in regards to that. But I think Lucasfilm is trying to shoot for something a little more outside the box. They've stated we want this to be something before the events of the Skywalker saga. We want it to be obvious that it's different. We want to do something completely new. And maybe down the road, there could be some link to Plagueis or Palpatine. You know, it'd be cool to see, you know, us getting a new canon explanation as to why or how some of that stuff came to be. But that's kind of what I thought it was going to be initially. And I figured it would be tied into the High Republic a little bit because they were kind of, I guess, launching a lot of that stuff in 2020. I believe the first book, do you know when the first book for the High Republic came out? Was that late 2020 or early 2021? It was around that time frame, I want to say.
It was a while back because when it was first announced, the High Republic, it was entitled, it was codenamed Project Luminous, and we had no
Mm,
clue what that was, what it meant.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I want to say, man, it had to have been before 2020, I think.
I think it was during or after, because I remember summer of 2020, I was working at a pizza joint and I was in the back looking on my phone, like, oh, they're announcing this new phase of Star Wars called the High Republic, and I saw the cover of the book, and I want to say that the first book came out late 2020, early 21, but
Yes,
it's
so
all kind of
early
blur.
2021, the High Republic release date, according to Google, January 6th, 2021, Light of
Okay,
the Jedi Phase 1. Yeah,
that sounds about right.
yeah.
But yeah, I guess it was kind of a new era for Star Wars in terms of there was different content. Obviously, the print media, like the books and comics, doesn't get as much attention as the TV shows and the movies, right? But it's really cool to see that they're trying to connect that all together with the live action adaptation of the High Republic. And we've seen a little bit of the High Republic on a screen in terms of I don't know. I guess it not being print media, Jedi Survivor had a little bit of High Republic flashbacks and stuff, but this is, I think, different than everybody. I don't think anyone could have predicted on paper what this was going to be, and I still think we're all going to be surprised by the plot as we continue on here. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think so too, but I think you hit it right on the head when you said when they did make this announcement of the Acolyte, and they did the whole this is going to take place before the prequels outside of the Skywalker saga. Immediately, I think we all think of Darth Plagueis. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
Darth Plagueis is canon. It's one of the more interesting aspects, kind of side details in Revenge of the Sith, which is a hugely beloved movie for especially your generation, Zach.
Yeah. Oh
Everyone
yeah. One
says that
hundred
that's their
percent
favorite movie,
for
and
sure.
even Ian McDermott at Celebration, he talked about the fact, I believe this was the 40th anniversary panel in 2017 in Orlando, where he talked about having an evil chat with Anakin Skywalker, with
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen, and he talked about Darth Plagueis, and he alluded to him killing him in his sleep, and him revealing the power to never die. Um, and I think that's what really kind of got people thinking, okay, well, hopefully in the future, at that time, of course, we didn't know because the purchase that Disney made, that we're going to hopefully get something and have Star Wars continue and see a Darth Plagueis and maybe his master, who's Darth Tenebris, come to fruition in live action. I mean, that was like the ultimate dream fantasy thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's I exactly thought, okay, well, okay, this is obviously going to revolve around Darth Plagueis. Maybe Darth Plagueis shows up, or maybe he's referred to in the Acolyte. We
Yeah.
don't know. We do know that this show takes place 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So you think 100 years. So automatically, Palpatine is not born.
Right.
There's no way he's alive unless they throw in something that's kind of from left field. We do know Plagueis is around, of course, and I think Tenebris, his master, is also around. So there's possibilities for that, but it really does feel like the Acolyte is kind of more confined from all the marketing, the junkets, everything that I've seen and heard. It feels like it's a very much more confined story than I think that we all as fans hope for.
Yeah.
New uh, characters from the High Republic, but this takes place at the tail end of the High Republic, so that's winding down and it's leading into um, basically the time frame of the prequels, but it is 100 years beforehand. So
Hmm.
we're filling in the gaps there. We're going to get a new story, new characters. Um, I hope we get to see Plagueis in live
Yeah.
action. I hope they do something Plagueis centric.
That'd be so
Um,
cool.
and I think we can all file that under something that all the fans kind of want. They
Slam dunk, David.
Yeah, they all want to see it. I mean, we want to see it. We just want to see how that came to be. And of course, we've done our fan castings for Tom Hiddleston as young Palpatine.
Yeah.
Um, I hope he doesn't age out of that. He is
he's,
getting older.
he's aging
I
pretty well though.
yeah, I have to agree with that. Yeah, of course we all know him as Loki in the MCU. Um, hopefully they get that done before too
Mm,
much time passes and they
yeah.
move on to other stuff. So the other big thing for the Acolyte when it was announced, they said it was going to be from like a dark side perspective. In Hollywood in general, I think when you hear films are going to concentrate from the evil side, from the villain side, from the dark side, they don't really usually turn out that way. It's kind of a hard thing for them to make a a film or a TV show that's solely based on looking through the perspective of the villain. Um,
Right.
it's almost like a code they can't crack because now with all the marketing stuff, you see all these Jedi, you see Masters and Padawans, and you see a lot of High Republic themed stuff. And I kind of figured it would go that way. I mean, it's a tough thing to do. So that's what I think we're gonna get, and I think from the marketing as well, I think it's skewed more towards the light side more so than just following
Yeah.
a dark side, a Sith apprentice, an acolyte. But of course, it is about a female antagonist, um, and this was the second logo that we got as it appears on the screen there. That was the second one, pretty much the same as the 2020 Investor Day Call logo. And then, of course, we got the logo that we all know now that you can see on screen here. Um, what do you think about the logo? Do you think there's some type of maybe hidden meaning in there without saying too much of what
Yeah.
I think they just currently revealed?
Um, I mean, to me, when I look at the O and Acolyte, it looks like kind of a lightsaber emitter, and it's the light's about to turn on and shoot through the kyber crystal and come up. I mean, that's what I think of. I looked at the lightsaber hilt that's in the teaser poster that doesn't have a blade, but it has like the red blood on top of it. I can't remember what the wording was, but that's what the new O looks like to me in my head is uh, the emitter portion of a lightsaber. But what do you think, David?
When I saw that, I immediately thought of maybe some type of like portal or
Mm,
something of that nature.
yeah,
And I think with recent new details, it makes a whole lot more sense and it's a whole lot more deliberate and kind of in your face. But we'll talk about that later during the
yeah,
second half of the podcast.
sweet.
Um, so yeah, we're gonna get something in the acolyte that I don't think any of us are quite expecting. From comments from the showrunner Leslie Headland, it seems like it's going to be an onion that gets peeled back, and there's different
Mm,
layers of it. So she used the phrasing. You're not going to get what you're expecting. So that's exciting. We've heard that before in the history of Star Wars in the past.
yeah,
Which I think wasn't as exciting to some fans. But this is totally outside of the Skywalker saga. So this has almost nothing to do with characters that we've seen or read about in books and novels. So if that answers what you asked me, Zach.
yeah. I think so.
So Susan Smith on YouTube asked, "How about Matt Smith as a young Palpatine?" I think that I wouldn't object to that.
Yeah, I think he could pull it off. Susan, are you related to Matt Smith? I had to ask.
So yeah, there's that deep-seated story slash rumor that Matt Smith was essentially like a young Palpatine, or maybe the son from Mortis, and that was going to be
Oh,
incorporated in the
that
Rise of
would also
Skywalker,
be
and
super sweet.
that whole story got cut, and
Yeah.
apparently Matt Smith had something to do with the Rise of Skywalker, but his stuff was cut out.
Hmm.
So yeah, Liam McCallan on YouTube says, "I hope they show Plagueis. They must know fans want it." Um, yeah, I mean that's one of the big aspects of the history of Star Wars that we want to see in live action. We want to see a Plagueis something or other
Yeah.
It would be great to just have a Plagueis show. Um, and
Can't say
just
slam dunk enough.
yeah. I mean that's one of the things they really haven't really touched on since the acquisition of Lucasfilm with Disney. So
Yeah.
hopefully, we get Plagueis stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about the cast. Um, so if you go out online, you can actually see the rundown, and there's not too many familiar faces in regards to the cast of the Acolyte, but there are some names that are kind of familiar. Of course, the big one, as you can see in this character poster, is Carrie Ann Moss, and we all know her from the Matrix movies. And
Definitely.
seeing that preview after the Phantom Menace, if you got to check out the 25th anniversary showing of the Phantom Menace in theaters, most theaters showed a fight scene between Carrie Ann Moss's character, Indara, and May, who's played by Amanda Stenberg, who I think we're all kind of assuming is the Acolyte. But of course,
Mhm.
we don't. We're not absolutely 100% sure.
Right.
But her as a Jedi just fits so well. I can't believe how 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 much she just embodies the role of a Jedi. And I don't know. Do you agree with that assessment,
Oh
Zach?
yeah. I mean, just looking at her, like she has that, I guess, mentor type vibe. Like I don't know if that makes sense. Like thinking of the Matrix or thinking of just her character in Star Wars. She looks like a wise sage in her perspective field, and that she seems like a pretty solid example of a cookie cutter Jedi, or like what the Jedi want themselves to be. Um, Strong in her beliefs, strong with her powers, and just all around on paper a really good Jedi. And I don't know if you feel the same, David, but I think she'll definitely do a good job of getting that. Um, I guess you could say roll across to an audience.
I definitely agree with that. And I also want to reiterate to everyone that's watching and listening, I don't know a single spoiler about the Acolyte. I'm going
Same
in
here.
virtually blind to what the story is, who these characters really are, aside from the StarWars.com databank entries. I know nothing. And I've heard some people talking and speculating about her character. And of course, all these characters, well, most of the characters in the Acolyte, we don't see them in the future. Of course, this is 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So, what the fate of these characters are, we don't know.
Yeah.
But it seems like for some reason, people are choosing this character played by Carrie Ann Moss, the character of Indara, to maybe perish in one of the first episodes of The Acolyte. It feels kind of right to me that that's actually something that could happen. Have you heard anyone talk about that, or do you think was that something that ever popped into your mind about Carrie Ann Moss's character?
Not necessarily, but I could kind of see that to be mimicking Qui Gon a little bit. How Qui Gon, comes in and he's the role model to Obi Wan, and at the end of the movie, we all know Qui Gon dies. But at the same time, Qui Gon's story was continued on, and he actually became a huge part of teaching new things about the Force to the Jedi during the Clone Wars after his death. So maybe there could be some sort of impact that her character has if she were to die. I don't know. I was thinking about the scenes in the trailer, the lines in the trailer when they talk about a Jedi's been murdered, and we're trying to figure out who that was, and maybe this was her. Maybe this was part of a mini story arc at the beginning of the season, couple episodes developing her character, and then she's the one who ultimately dies. But I'm going to assume that's not the case. Her dying in general, it could be, but I don't think she is the Jedi that is talked about in the trailers being murdered, and that kind of starting the whole mystery.
The other actor I want to talk about here is Lee Jung Jae. So he first appeared to American audiences in the Netflix show Squid Game, And Leslie Headland has said that when she was trying to write the story of the Acolyte, um, she saw this actor and thought automatically, this is that character that I'm writing for. This is my number one pick. And they sent out an offer to Lee Jung Jae, and he agreed. And he was one of the last main cast to sign on the dotted line and accept the offer as Soul, who looks to be our kind of older Jedi, the most
Yeah.
veteran of the Jedi that we see in the Acolyte. And I want to say he also does feel like he fits the role as a Jedi, and he kind of embodies that persona really, really well. And this is just everything that we've seen from all the marketing, the TV spots, and the trailers. But he
Yeah.
feels legit, like he is a legit Jedi master. And it seems like you agree, Zach. I mean, I think the casting for Indara and Master Soul are spot on.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
with seeing the trailer, we do see different hairstyles, so it does seem like maybe there's some flashbacks in there, going
Hmm.
back and forth, and we do see Carrie Ann Moss's character in Dara in some of those flashbacks, I believe. So that gives that lends a little bit to the fact that maybe she doesn't make it in a current episode in the timeline, and we show flashbacks of her with Soul going on missions.
Yeah.
But he looks terrific. They both look terrific. Now, um, one of the earliest reveals back all the way in London, where myself and Colin and Josh were, we got to see them reveal that there was going to be a Wookiee Jedi. And this Wookiee Jedi they revealed was going to be played by the current Wookiee actor from the sequel trilogy, Jonas Swatovo. And he is going to play Kelnaka, who is a Wookiee Jedi. We've seen him in action. He has a lightsaber. Um, he is there. He has made some red carpet appearances too. And I know somebody made the comment, "Oh man, that's kind of messed up that Jonas had to wear his costume on the red carpet while all the other actors could just be casual." But I don't think that was him on the red carpet. I think he's actually filming for Wednesday for Netflix, the second season of Wednesday. So I think they got a different person to be put in the
Hmm.
suit for the red carpets. But what do you think about our new Wookiee Jedi Kelnaka?
I'm excited. I mean, we've seen a little bit of variation in Wookiees. I mean, obviously we saw Chewbacca in the original trilogy. We got him in the sequel trilogy, a little bit in the prequel trilogy, but then we saw a lot of other Wookiees in Revenge of the Sith, specifically with Kashyyyk. We learn a little bit more about Gunji, who's a younger Wookiee in the Bad Batch and in the Clone Wars, and this is this is allegedly, I think he's a Jedi Master. Brought to the big screen. It's really cool to see that. I believe I think there's another Jedi in the High Republic books called Buryaga. I think that's how you say his name.
Yep.
And it's cool to imagine a Jedi Master like a full grown Wookiee. That sounds like a really cool idea to me, and I'm super excited to see how this character shows up and shows us something new that we haven't seen Wookiees do on screen before. I think that'll be a really cool thing to I guess see live action, thinking about what Wookiees can do with pure strength on their own. It'd be sweet to see what a full grown Wookiee could do as a master of the Force. That would be incredible. There's so much potential there.
Yeah, a ton of potential. I know Colin for sure. He's very interested to see how uh, Kelnaka performs in the Acolyte, and it's just cool to see something different in live action. And of course,
Yeah.
we haven't
Yeah.
seen a Wookiee Jedi in live action yet. So the next actress is Daphne Keane. Of course, I think she's the most popular as X-23 in the film Logan, where she
Yeah.
plays. Um, I guess she co-stars with Hugh Jackman in the Wolverine film Logan, and of course she was a little kid then. Now she's more grown up. I believe she's 19 years old. She's also starred in the HBO series, his Dark Materials, which is based on the Golden Compass, right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me. I haven't seen any of that, but I know she's been in other projects since Logan.
Right, right. And Leslie Headland has stated that the reason why Daphne Keene was casted because she just wanted to see X-23 with a lightsaber, which
Yeah,
is
that's a
kind
little
of
terrifying.
yeah, kind of hilarious and kind of like that's the only reason he cast her and not her acting ability. But
Mm,
I mean, I think she's a proven actress, so I mean, it kind of goes
yeah,
without saying.
yeah.
But yeah, as you can see, her character right here, the name of her character is Jackie Lon, and she apparently is a Padawan to Master Soul. And of course, you can see her green lightsaber there. You can see her Padawan braid, and she is the alien species known as the Thelan.
Yes.
And Thelans are hybrids of humans and that alien race. And what I've seen, which is not very spoilery, is the fact that she's claimed to be 90% human and I guess 10% Thelan,
Oh,
which
wow.
I'm not quite sure how they came up with that or how
Yeah,
you would figure that out, but I
need a
believe
family tree on that one.
that's what's that yeah that's what has been stated. And the
Yeah.
first time I think we've seen a Thelan in live action, if I'm not mistaken, was in the Jabba the Hutt musical scene with
Mm,
Slice Noodles and of course Max
yeah.
Rebo. Um, and she's one of the singers, the three singers in the
She has
background.
purple skin, right? And red hair,
I
kinda
yeah, I think it's like pinkish hair. I don't know.
pinkish, orangish, reddish,
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's cool that we're gonna get to see her in here. I think those are the most well-known actors, and of course we do have, which we think is the main actor, and possibly the title character of the Acolyte, which is played by Amanda Stenberg. And we have seen her in the Hunger Games, which she was a child actress. Now
Oh,
she's
she was
grown up.
Ruth, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was Leslie Headland's number one pick to play this character. And as you can see there in her character poster, she's holding small daggers. And it's interesting that we're assuming that you've seen the scene, which has been played over and over and over again, even in the theaters after the Phantom Menace, where she's attacking a Jedi with bladed weapons. And it's interesting that it appears that she is force sensitive. She uses the force, but she doesn't use a lightsaber. And going back to that trailer, it looks like she's trying to grab for Carrie Ann Moss's lightsaber, and she can't.
Mm.
And she asks, "Who trained you?" And then you can see Carrie Ann Moss's character and Dara report that I've encountered a force sensitive being here. So what the story is with that, we don't know. Is she collecting lightsabers? Is this like a Grievous thing? We do see a broken lightsaber, I believe, in one of the trailers, but it looks like it's left behind. So is she removing the kyber crystals from these lightsabers and just leaving the guts behind? Um, it'll be all be revealed to us starting Tuesday. And the last character I kind of want to talk about, who we don't know who was cast in this role, is this dark side character. Of course, a very very Knights of Ren style helmet. Looks like you see teeth there and an opening at the bottom, but it could be tubing or piping, which mimics what teeth look like, and a small slit at the top. But it very closely resembles Kylo Ren's The Rise of Skywalker helmet, where he had to kind of like put it all back together
Yeah,
after he
yeah.
smashed it. But it looks like these are more like scrapes, or maybe I don't know,
Mm.
markings, possibly tribal markings. I don't know. But who do you think, and what do you think this is actually a Sith, or do you think this is just a dark side entity? What are your perceptions of this character?
I think it's a Sith. I mean, the red lightsaber is a huge indicator for that. I mean, we see dark side force users who aren't Sith technically use lightsabers, so it is possible for this character to not be a Sith. But Kylo Ren also, I guess, technically wasn't a Sith, but the helmet resembles just dark side. I think the marks you're talking about in the helmet having a little bit of a red hue could be from the lightsaber blade. I'm assuming that's out of the shot, but reflecting off the helmet. And um, it mimics Kylo Ren's helmet in my head as well, David. And I definitely think this is a Sith. I think this is this could also be the Acolyte that's being, using all the marketing, right? The show is called the Acolyte. This could be the Acolyte. And it's interesting to see because when Dooku, I'm sorry, not Dooku, when Maul came up in the Phantom Menace, the Jedi Council were like, was this the Master or the Apprentice? And we're kind of, maybe we don't know. Is this the Master? Is this the Apprentice? I like how this is open to interpretation right now, and I'm really excited to see how I don't know if they're going to flip the script or something, because the posters and the trailers kind of indicate that Amanda Stenberg's character is alluding to be the Acolyte potentially, but I guess that's my long-winded answer for saying maybe. I don't know, but I'm leaning more towards this definitely being a Sith. What do you think, David?
I am leaning towards it being a Sith too. I like everything you said there, Zach, because like Leslie Headland told us, it's not going to go the way you think, and of course we've heard that before. But
Yeah.
I think this is interesting in that it's kind of an all brand new story, brand new characters, and yeah, we got to talk about the fact that Coyote-Mundi said back in the Phantom Menace that the Sith have been extinct for millennia. So people kind of took that and ran with it. I always took that as, yeah, there's no way you can have Sith before the Phantom Menace. But like everything spoken in Star Wars, I think there's a way around it.
Yeah.
There are thoughts and suggestions that maybe, yes, that is a Sith. Maybe our characters in the Acolyte do encounter a Sith and the rule of twos and four. So there's a master, there's an apprentice, and maybe you throw on an Acolyte, or maybe the Acolyte is the apprentice. I don't know. But yeah, I think there's going to be a Sith involved here. If that's the main Sith, if that's the apprentice, we don't know. And I don't think we're going to find out till very late in the show. So I'm looking forward to what she's cooked up. There's many ways for them to go about doing the storytelling for the Acolyte. I hope it's something different. It feels like we're getting some stuff that is, especially plot points around Amanda Stenberg's character that are very familiar. But we'll save that for a little bit later in the podcast to talk about, in case you don't want to know, and I think a lot of people don't know, and are maybe making assumptions. So, all right, so that is pretty much the main cast. Those are all the character posters we got that I think just popped up somewhere in the world, and someone took pictures randomly and threw them online. And they did show up at the premiere. They had them on the red carpet, and the premiere already did take place. And at the premiere, of course, it's going to be held always at the El Capitan Theater at Hollywood. And it happened, I think, last week. And they invited influencers, they invited podcasters. Personally, it would be a dream for me to go to one of these red carpet premieres and check it out. And one of our hosts on the podcast, James, he lives like right down the street, so he can actually just walk to the premiere. And we joked about that on the last podcast. But so, yeah, there was a lot of fanfare. A lot of what I really do like is a lot of the legacy Star Wars actors and people that are involved did show up to the red carpet premiere. And here's a picture. And the Larry O'Brien trophy from the NBA was there for, yeah, that's a little odd, but yeah. In the picture here, if you're watching this on video on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you can see Iman Esfandi, you can see Diana Lee Inosanto, you can see Cameron Monaghan and Christina Ariel in front of the Larry O'Brien trophy, and posing with the trophy there that's about to be awarded here this month. So I guess it goes hand in hand, and it's going to be broadcast on ABC, which is owned by Disney. So I guess that all makes sense. So you did have the cast on the red carpet. and you can see everyone there from Daphne Keene to Carrie Ann Moss to Lee Jung Jae, Rebecca Henderson, Leslie Headland, Charlie Bartlett, Manny Jacinto, Manla Stenberg there, and it was cool. They didn't do the thing though this year where they show it live. They usually have a couple of hosts. In the past, it's been people like Anthony and Andy from the Star Wars show that they're no longer hosts of. Kristen Baver now hosts that show. But I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to see kind of a live feed and them interviewing everyone on the red carpet and talking about stuff. But we didn't get that. If you go to YouTube, you can see kind of a condensed version of that. I actually haven't seen it yet. I've seen clips here and there, interviews. So if you want to invite us, Lucasfilm, feel free. Our email is open, starstuffpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to invite us to any future events. And they actually served lightsaber churros on the red carpet. So
that sounds yummy.
Yeah, it sounds super yummy. And yeah, that was really cool. And the other cool thing that they always do, and they've done this for the MCU as well, is they have an organist in front of the screen playing themes from whatever IP that they're about to show something for on the organ. It sounds super cool. If you go online, you can see the organist play, I believe, the opening for Star Wars, and it sounds so cool, man. I love it when they bring that guy out, and he plays other stuff too. I've never been to one of these premieres, so I don't know, but I'm just kind of reiterating what I've heard in the past from other premieres. So they got to see 2 episodes 1 and 2, that's going to drop this Tuesday. But if you've been keeping up with social media, you've seen people say, I've seen the first 4 episodes. So apparently what happened was they've sent out screeners to people at home that weren't invited to the premiere, couldn't make it to the premiere, and they got to see the first 4 episodes of The Acolyte. So that's the way it worked. I know there's a little bit of confusion there. So if you went to this premiere, you got to see the first 2 episodes. If you stayed at home, or you actually did go to the premiere, they just sent you screeners. So just a warning, there are spoilers out there. None that I've read. I've just seen reports that there's spoilers out there for The Acolyte. So if you don't want to be spoiled, be careful online. So yeah, that was a premiere. Lucasfilm also did a really special thing for a couple of podcasters / influencers, where they invited them to the Burbank Lucasfilm offices, and they got to have a sit down with Leslie Headland and just kind of very candidly talk about The Acolyte and what to expect. And the thing I got from the reports back from that meeting was that Leslie Headland, as I think we all knew already, that she is a hardcore fan of Star Wars, the EU, just the lore, and she is an actual Star Wars fan. She's not one of these directors that comes in and wasn't like a huge fan before. She is a huge fan. She knows about things. She did say, I believe in that roundtable, that she used some of the influencers and podcasters' channels to do research, which was really kind of interesting. She talked about a report was that she did talk about how, and I think any one of us fans, if we were brought in to work on a high level project at Lucasfilm, how you would possibly feel like a bit of imposter syndrome, or where you go into something and you feel like you don't deserve to be there. I think I feel that a lot of the time doing this podcast, due to all the views, likes, and listens and stuff, and you think it's like, are people really listening to this? Me and James talk about it all the time. It's like, can you believe that we got that many listens to this podcast? And we're just I think both of us kind of think that sometimes, and it's very refreshing that she's come out and said that. I mean, it's a very candid and genuine thing to say and talk about, and just the level of passion that was conveyed at that roundtable as well was just something that I think all of us fans want for all the creators for all the TV shows and the films. Um, Seems to
Yeah.
be there, and I'm super excited. Thinking back to our London celebration experience, seeing her on the stage and her being so passionate and candid and talking about her experiences and the fact that she chose this era specifically to create a show for Star Wars. It's a great thing. So Zach, what are your thoughts on Leslie Headland as a showrunner, as a creator, and
Yeah.
everything that you kind of know that's unspoilery or non-spoilery?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess kind of lining up with what you said, David. I don't know a lot about her previous projects. I know she was entrusted with this project for a reason, and that kind of speaks enough to me in terms of would I trust someone to run a Star Wars project, and if Lucasfilm sees the right candidate and selects the right candidate, I have no reason to believe that it could be bad or not. I guess just immediately shut it down. I think that Leslie definitely shows a lot of passion, like what you were saying that we learned about when she was at the last celebration talking about the show on different panels, and I think the passion is there, and I hope that I think a lot of directors who come into Star Wars, like we heard, Ryan Johnson was a huge fan of Star Wars, J.J. Abrams was a huge fan of Star Wars, and yes, it's true. Um, I really want to see a lot of deep cut Easter eggs brought into this show. I guess selfishly as a fan, like it's not a proof to me that you're a big fan, but I guess almost it is in a sense proof to me that you're a big fan. But um, I definitely, I'm definitely excited to see the story that she has for us. And given that it's something we haven't seen before, well, okay, no duh. Given that it's something unlike what we've seen before, it's completely new, uncharted waters, new characters, new ideas, new everything. I just can't help but be excited. The more I'm talking about it, the more I get excited about it. And so I guess I don't know a lot about her past projects. I can't say I've seen anything she's done, but I've kind of looked into them a little bit, and I think this will be an awesome addition to her resume.
Yeah, as far as the past project goes, Russian Doll is the one that's always cited, and that was kind
Oh,
of a hit
sure.
show on Netflix. And she recruited some of the people that she worked with on Russian Doll to the Acolyte. But
That's awesome.
yeah, we've gone about 43 minutes here into the podcast, so I think this is the point of the podcast where if you don't want to know any specifics, anything from the marketing that's detailed, that's maybe plot affecting and possibly a little spoilery. Like I said, I don't know anything as far as plot goes, anything specific. I haven't seen any leaks or spoilers or anything, so I don't know. So I can't really report on that, of course. But at this point of the podcast, if you want to turn it off, come back later. We're going to talk about some more specific things that Leslie Headland and the cast have talked about that are a little bit revealing. So if you don't want to know anything, I suggest, like I said, stop listening, press pause, wait till the advanced screening on Monday, which is tomorrow night, or Tuesday when it drops on Disney Plus. And the drop on Disney Plus will be 9/8 Central, 6 Pacific. So we're gonna get the shows dropped at a
Yeah.
decent time. And of
Yeah,
course,
for sure.
we'll be doing, just like Ahsoka, we'll be doing pre-shows and post-shows and kind of going over and breaking down with analysis and overview and thoughts and opinions with different hosts from the podcast. So, all right. So the big kind of plot point that I heard about, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ish ago, was the fact that if you look at the poster that was dropped, this was one of the last posters. You can quite literally see Amandla Stenberg's character there in there twice. So people started speculating, okay, is this like a twin situation? And when you
Hmm.
say twins, you automatically think of Luke and Leia,
Right.
and it's like, are we really doing this again with twins? So initially, I wasn't a fan of it. I was like, man, we've done that before. It's like, can we not do something different? And then I thought, well, maybe this is like more like a Jekyll and Hyde situation. Maybe it is the same character, and they just have like some type of complex within them. And I think that was kind of shot down with the junkets that the characters and actors did. And they've come out and said, yes, it is two separate characters. And one of the TV spots, I believe, you can see if you're watching this on video, the left side character that's without her face covered, that her name is Osha. And the character on the right with her face covered, that is May. So apparently these are twins. And if you do look closely in one of the first trailers, you can see Lee Jung Jae's character, Master Soul, handing a lightsaber to a child, and I believe it's May, or it could be Osha. I don't know, one of the two. And then if you look behind that group of women that I think everyone's referring to as like the new kind of like witch coven. There's another child actor kind of behind one of those characters. So it appears to be, yeah, it is a twin situation. It appears we're going to get a light side and a dark side twin. So I wonder why they just kind of didn't let us know beforehand and kind of held it to kind of late in the game in the marketing. Why do you think that they did that, Zach?
I think it's another way to stir theories and fans before we go into it, and it could just be another way we could run wild with what we think might happen, and then the story itself just totally goes against what everybody's thinking in terms of predictions and surprises. I think it's just another way to get us kind of distracted from what we think could happen, and it just is creating more potential possibilities for us to use our minds to think of what's happening and what's going on, and it's just another thing to that we could potentially assume wrong. It's and we don't know. It's exciting. It's kind of, I don't know. The more you talk about it, the more I look at that. There's just so much we don't know, and I'm okay with that. But I'm really excited to see how it pans out. I can't wait to see it.
I agree. And we do definitely have to preface this all with everything that they say in these junkets and these interviews and these red carpet interviews could all be false. They could all just be
Yeah,
lying.
yeah, super
So,
true.
yeah. So, which leads me to the next thing I want to talk about. And I think this was for comicbook.com. In this interview, the interviewer asked Leslie Headland directly, is it possible that we're going to see Master Yoda or any characters that we've all come to know from the prequels that we know that are alive,
Yeah,
such as Yarel Poof, such as Oppo Rancisis, such as Hu Yang, such as
Terrace
possibly
Danube.
Terra Sanube, possibly Plo Koon,
Hmm.
that we do see his species in the background of a couple shots. Um, Jabba the Hutt's still alive, which I guess would be a long shot. But Leslie Headland came out and answered that question directly, and I can't believe she did that. I'm paraphrasing here, but she turned to the person that was next to her. I think it was Amanda Stenberg, and she said, "Can you imagine if Lucasfilm let us use Yoda?" And I was thinking, let you use Yoda? I mean, why
Yeah,
would they not let you use Yoda? Yoda is alive he's like 750 years old at the time. He's a spry 750. It's like, why wouldn't you use him? And I think we all kind of know here that he does appear in the High Republic books and all that
yeah,
media. So he's around. He's not a main character, but he's around. So they built a brand new puppet with brand new technology for The Last Jedi. That puppet is sitting in storage right now. Break them out and use them. Bring back Frank Oz. Do the whole thing. We
yeah.
all want to see Master Yoda. It's another slam dunk. But Leslie Headland stated that no, we're not going to see Master Yoda. We're not going to see a lot of characters that we've seen before on screen. She said that we're going to see characters from the High Republic and EU, which, like I said before, that could be a lie because
Yeah.
I don't see how you don't use Yoda. Everyone's expecting to see Yoda, you know? It's just one of
Yeah.
those things. So, what are your thoughts on that, Zach?
I think we'll see him. I don't know. I think we'll see him. I think there's a much higher likelihood of seeing Yoda appear versus like Plagueis or something like that. But when she's talking about we'll see characters from the EU and from the High Republic, Yoda's in EU content and in the High Republic. I mean, that's just being kind of a punk about her words and twisting that to be my advantage. But I think we'll definitely see Yoda, whether it's CG or puppet. I don't think we'll see him out there saving the day, doing all these crazy missions, and maybe we'll get a mention of him. And I don't know. I think it would be absolutely crazy to show like the Jedi Temple in that time frame and not have Yoda walking around, or maybe he's on his little floaty chair, maybe he doesn't have a cane. I don't know. I think it's a gimme. You said it's a slam dunk. I think it's a slam dunk. I think we all think it's a slam dunk. And we don't it would be fan service for the most part. As a fan, I'd be down for that, but just seeing him would be great. That's kind of all I'm looking for.
Yeah. On the surface, it's almost criminal not to show Yoda.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Oh, yeah.
around. I mean, you're on Coruscant. You're with Jedi in their kind of height, towards the tail end of their height
Yeah.
and idealism. But I mean, the more you think about it, the more you think about a story, I think it is possible that she is actually telling the truth here, because there's so many new characters, there's so many people you want to concentrate on.
Yeah.
In reference, it feels more likely now that he's going to be referred to. Maybe you hear a Frank Oz Yoda voice cameoed in there. Maybe a hologram. I don't know, but yeah, that was shocking when I first heard that. But on the flip side of that, she did reference that we're going to get EU High Republic, so that gives more stock to the fact that maybe we do get some type of Plagueis stuff in there.
Oh,
but as time has gone on, thinking about this Acolyte show and seeing all the marketing, but listening to Leslie Headland, it's like a tug of war in my mind about what's she gonna show. Is there gonna be Plagueis Tenebrous stuff? Is there not gonna be that type of stuff in there? It's so hard to say. And like I said, I don't know anything about leaks or anything. I haven't seen anything, so I have no idea. Hopefully, I think that's something that all Star Wars fans, I've said this repeatedly now, that we're all kind of wishing for. Hopefully there is something associated to that. To me, I think that's the good type of fan service, to give us that type of thing. And I mean, maybe it is Plagueis who is the master in the Acolyte, which would be terrific and awesome. I mean, going all the way back to The Force Awakens, everyone thought Plagueis was involved somehow with the staff, with Rey's staff, and perhaps that was associated. And of course, it wasn't. A little disappointing, but the story worked overall. So, for The Force Awakens, looking at YouTube, our comments here, Liam McCallion, he says, if the choice is not to show Yoda or at least someone we know, it's just silly. We're fans and we want that. I agree. Liam said he'd even take a hologram. I mean, there's I guess potential for that. So yeah, I think that's what we're all kind of hoping for. So the other stuff that was kind of revealed for the Acolyte is the fact that the Wookiee, Kelnaka, he's actually a solitary character, and he lives in a forest by himself, which is kind of surprising because Wookiees are generally more social. So that kind of lends to the fact that we might not see him as much which is a little disappointing. But we've seen stuff in TV spots where he is using a green lightsaber, and he's actually doing a fair bit of dueling with a lightsaber. Um, Also, with Daphne Keene's character, she's come out in the interview stating that she does see a lot of action. So there's a lot of sword play here. And I think if you've seen some of the behind the scenes, you do see Carrie Ann Moss, you do see Lee Jung Jae and Daphne Keene um, practicing a lot like what we saw with the behind the scenes of Ewan and
Yeah.
Hayden practicing, which is so cool. And of course, with the technology these days, they actually have a lightsaber
Hmm.
that does ignite, and they can see the color of their saber, and you can see the reflection of the color on their faces. Was there anything in the junkets or material that was that you read or watched that was kind of something interesting, like more of a fine detail?
I liked reading about, I guess, some of the character bios that were on Instagram Star Wars website, just kind of about the main characters that we've already shown. Something that I thought was super, super cool was reading about Soul. David, if you don't mind, I'll read it here. But from the Star Wars, if you actually wouldn't mind pulling up the Soul poster, that's kind of what it's in reference to here. And right next to it on the Star Wars website, it says, Master Soul is a wise, highly respected Jedi Master, strong in the ways of the Force, still and stalwart, or if I'm saying that right. Soul has a deep sense of compassion and will defend those who cannot defend themselves. He is a powerful warrior with intense emotions that he uses his Jedi training to balance. So, reading that, I was kind of thinking about how Soul could be more inclined to be more biased towards his former apprentice if his former apprentice is involved with being the acolyte somehow. That could come up as some sort of weakness. And we all know, like, the stereotypical Jedi is supposed to be somewhat distant from attachment. And it sounds like he's a very emotional Jedi, whether that's connections or relationships. And I thought that was a very interesting tidbit that was displayed before the airing of the first couple of episodes, so we kind of get more of a gist on his character. And I think that it could benefit him in terms of the story, or it could lead to some sort of a downfall, or like him slipping up and letting something happen that shouldn't happen. And what are your thoughts on that, David?
Yeah, from the databank description, I mean, he does feel a lot more grounded, and just his demeanor in all the movie images that we've seen so far,
Yeah.
it seems like he is very much kind of like a Qui-Gon type character, and that you can see in the data bank there. He's powerful with intense emotions, and he uses his Jedi training to balance. And it felt like every time I think about Qui-Gon, I always think about him going into the meditative position in front of Darth Maul
Mm.
right
Yeah.
before he goes into the fight. It feels like he's very centered, very kind of in tune with the Force, really, and
Yeah.
it feels like he's a very solid and in line with the mainline beliefs of the Force. And it doesn't feel like this character is corruptible at all.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
feels like he's definitely um, not the acolyte or
Yes.
on the
Yes.
dark side, but you never know. I mean, that would be a big turn if that were to happen.
Yeah. Who did we learn was his Padawan again? Was that May?
Yes, his former Padawan
Yeah.
was May. So what we kind of know is that he does go after um, this assassin that's killing Jedi, and apparently he runs into um, Osha, which is the other character that Amanda Stenberg plays, and you can see in one of the trailers where he confronts her at the end of maybe like a drain waterfall type situation. And of course, we
Mhm.
all think about if you're a certain age, you think about Harrison Ford in The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones. There was also an episode of the Clone Wars where Ahsoka's standing
Yeah,
at a precipice. Um,
that's what I think of.
and May says, "I didn't do it. It wasn't me." So that's in line with like the twin
Yeah,
theory and what
for
they've
sure.
explained.
Yeah, no, I absolutely think. I mean, we know that Obi-Wan did a couple of things because of his relationship with Anakin. Like he kind of, well, he definitely knew about him and Padme, Anakin and Padme being together, but didn't tell the council. And maybe there's things that Master Soul knows about May that he's holding from the council or other members of the Jedi Temple, and that could potentially be something that ends up biting him in the rear. We never know. But I can see that being some sort of a similarity in terms of relationship to Anakin and Obi-Wan is um, him being an emotional master or just connected. And I guess we learned that May has some sort of a tragedy in her past, and I'm assuming we'll learn why she's not involved with the Jedi as much anymore, or how much she was. And I think it'll all tie together well, but there's only so much speculation we could do, I guess, at this point. But that's kind of where my brain's going.
Yeah. So it seems like with all the new Star Wars series and films, um, let's see. I guess starting off, I guess maybe Episode 7 started off the tradition of getting a new droid. Of course, we got
Mm,
BB-8,
yep.
the seemingly revolutionary ball droid BB-8. Of course, we all kind of fell in love with him, and he was the droid of the sequels. And of course, we're going to get a new droid. Are you aware of the new droid that we're getting?
He's in the poster, right? Right after or right over Soul's shoulder a
Right.
little
I
bit.
just took it down, but
Yeah.
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 So this new droid, the name of this droid is Pip, and this droid is carried by OSHA. And if you go to StarWars.com, you can see in the data bank a description here. It reads Pip, a handheld repair droid with a wide array of tool attachments, has a chipper can do personality. The pocket sized droid is always eager to help, often suggesting just the right tool for the task at hand.
That's so cool. I think that could be used in a, a matter of comedic ways, but not necessarily like comedy. But I don't know. I mean, the droids often provide some laughs when we're looking on screen, and I don't see this being any different than that. But it's very unique, very new, very creative, and I think it could be a great fit to the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, that is an interesting kind of change up from all the droids that we've seen where they're kind of mobile
Yeah.
and not handheld. A lot of the crew has said that Pip is very cute. Of course, it fits in your pocket essentially. I think OSHA has like a holder for it, almost like a cell phone on the side of her belt. But
That's sweet.
I'm anticipating a lot of merch for this droid if it is
Yeah.
indeed another cute droid. Um, there was a gift bag given to the podcasters and influencers that were invited to the Burbank Lucasfilm office, and they put Pip's image on the back of a phone bank charger. So that looked really cool. I'm not sure if it was one of those chargers that you just stick on the back of your phone, or if it's just
Mm,
the basic like USB connected type.
yeah.
But I can foresee a lot of Pip merchandise to be released and unleashed on the public.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
I wouldn't mind a new phone bank charger, so um, that's
Yeah.
something that we can maybe take to Japan there. So, was there anything else that you found out about the Acolyte that you want to mention here?
I guess not necessarily. I was watching a TV spot before we were talking here, David, and it came out a couple days ago. It's called the Acolyte Dash Awake, and it kind of there's a line in there about the Jedi living in a dream, and the Acolyte kills the dream essentially. If
Right, right, right.
and I thought that was kind of cool. Like it just kind of put me on the edge of my seat just a little bit more as I anticipate the show premiering. And it sounded like a muffled man's voice. I could be wrong. I know there's helmets that kind of could modulate that to where we think we don't really understand who's behind the mask, but I'm believing that that's the character that we see. That's the masked figure who we don't know who that is. And I thought that was interesting. What do you think, David?
I believe that voice came from the character right on the left hand side of Jackie Law, Daphne Keene there, Manny Jacinto.
Oh, okay.
So that character, if you go to the data bank here, his name, which I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it correctly. I've heard it a few times, but I'm still getting used to it. Qimir. I think it's Qimir.
Yeah.
So his description, and you hear his voice in a couple of things. He has a very distinct voice, and this is Manny Jacinto, and he's been in a TV show called The Good Place, I believe.
Mm.
So his description is a shiftless drifter with seemingly no cares at all, other than his own amusements. Kumir is a former smuggler who now makes his living as a trader, procuring unusual things and enjoying a life of leisure. He is a supplier who has survived in some of the shadier starports of the galaxy. So some people think that maybe he is like the main antagonist.
Yeah.
So all these like guesses and assumptions, and yeah, we just don't know who is who really. I mean, anyone could be anyone, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's anyone's game.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, we're gonna get a character from the High Republic. We talked about earlier how Leslie Headland said that there's going to be other characters from the High Republic showing up, but the main one we know is going to be played by Rebecca Henderson, and it is Vernestra Rowe, and she does appear in a lot of High Republic material,
Yeah.
the books, the comics, and I think a lot of people have seen the TV spot when she is using a purple bladed lightsaber and it becomes a light whip, and that is really unique. I mean, that's something we've never seen in live action before.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've read about it. We've listened about the way she uses it. Vernestra Rowe, her character, her nickname is Vern. She was a child prodigy. I believe she's 114 years old at this point in time in the Acolyte.
Oh, wow.
And Zach, if you want to go to the data bank and read her bio there.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it here.
Leslie Headland has stated, however, here's another big kind of quasi spoilery thing. So Leslie Headland did say that she went to Lucasfilm and she said she had an idea for a specific lightsaber. And it's a lightsaber. They initially told her, no, we can't do it. It's not possible. But then they eventually created Leslie's lightsaber. And apparently we're going to see a brand new lightsaber, not before seen. And she clarified, no, she is not talking about Vernestra Rowe's light whip. It's something else. And apparently it's not in the first 4 episodes that have been screened. So we're going to get something new and unique with the lightsaber aside from Vernestra Rowe's light whip. So that's something else to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here on the Star Wars website for who is Vernestra Rowe. I guess to give a little bit of background that David already talked about a little bit here. In the era of the High Republic, Jedi answered the call to defend the galaxy from a vile, from vile martyrs known as the Nihil. Along their ranks was young Vernestra Rowe, a Malarian or Marialian, I think I'm saying that right, prodigy,
Yeah,
became a
Mariana.
Jedi Knight. Yeah, became a Jedi Knight as a teenager. While she wasn't considered exceptionally powerful, her resolve and utter devotion to the Force made Vernestra stand apart from the other Padawans. By the time of the Acolyte, Vernestra is serving the Order as a Jedi Master and respected elder. So that's the little bit that we get. And there's, if you look on the website, there's some pictures of her using her light whip and it's very cool to kind of take a peek at that. But when I hear about the light whip, David, I think of the Zygerians that are in the Clone Wars that have some sort of whip, but I mean, it looks like a beam of light, but I'd assume it's obviously different from what a lightsaber light whip would be, because I'd imagine it would just cut through anything it touches, right? But when I think of the light whip that the Zygerians had in the Clone Wars and in the Bad Batch, it just kind of wraps around your limb or wherever they catch you, and it'll like zap you. Do you think it'll be something similar to that, or do you think it would be much different?
I'm not quite sure. Thinking about the physics of a light whip,
Yeah,
you would figure it would just cut through, but
yeah, me
I think
too.
we've
That's what I think.
seen in instances like in Ahsoka where Sabine swung her lightsaber on a stormtrooper and it's just kind of melted the plastic a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah, right.
um, so I'm not quite sure what they're going to do, and I'm not too well read up on the High Republic to kind of know the ins and
Yeah,
outs of the light
same,
whip
same
and what
here.
kind of devastation it causes. But it's going to be cool to see it on screen, something different.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Should be cool.
Yeah, for sure. What else we're going to get that's new? I hope this is a fantastic series. Tons of Jedi outside the Skywalker saga. It checks a few boxes there.
Yeah,
Um, Characters that we don't know the fates of. I mean, like I said, I'm going into this really, really blind. I have no idea what's going to happen. Um, it seems like we do got a lot of talent for this. When Leslie Headland made the pitch about the Acolyte to Kathleen Kennedy, the reports were that Kathleen Kennedy was brought to tears with the story that she
mm,
concocted. So um, I have all the hope in the world. I'm putting all my faith in Leslie Headland here, a fellow hardcore Star Wars fan. So we shall see. For me, starting tomorrow night, I'm going to get to see the first 2 episodes of The Acolyte in the movie theater in Austin, Texas.
very fun.
And yeah, hopefully I'm going to get there as early as possible because they're doing the thing where it's first come, first serve.
Is it
So
overbooked where you could potentially get turned around?
probably.
Okay.
There's going to be people that aren't happy, but I'm not going to work tomorrow. I live an hour away from Austin. I'm going to drive up there maybe around like 1, 2 o'clock. Doesn't air until 7. So I'm thinking about actually interviewing people in line and maybe putting together something for the channel and
Very
airing
cool.
that, getting people's thoughts. And also for the Acolyte, of course, I believe I said this earlier, we're going to do pre-shows and post-shows with all the Star Wars stuff guests or hosts.
Yeah.
Um, and give our thoughts and opinions, what we think, what our hopes and dreams are for the show. And of course, we're going to have, like we usually do, a bingo card. And I want to say that Colin did preview it, but
Yeah.
I think did he preview it?
I think he did. I know we were talking about it yesterday in our little
Okay, because I didn't see it.
podcast group chat, but
I was busy all day yesterday, so
yeah,
I wasn't able to be
it
online very
looks it
much.
looks really good. I don't
So
know if we're saving it or if we're going to show it right now, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't think we really spoke about that too much internally for the
yeah,
podcast, but I do have a picture of it right now. Um, the Ahsoka bingo card was really tough. We made it really, really hard. I think this one is not as tough, but it is going to be, I think, a challenge for someone to get a natural bingo where they get 5 squares in a row. There is a free space in the middle, so I think that helps. And
yeah,
of course, there's also a Max Rebo spot on the card. But yeah, I'll put it up on screen to the benefit of the people that are watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Here it is. So this is the Acolyte bingo card. And if you look at the bottom there, so mentions count as well as appearances. So, like we talked about Yoda, Leslie Headland said that Yoda is not appearing, but if they mention him, you can mark it as a bingo spot. And of course, we
yeah,
have Ural Poof in there, Opal Rancisis, Terra Sanube, possible holocron appearance, Darth Plagueis. It could be mentioned, Starlight Beacon from the High Republic, which would be a little bit of an Easter egg in there. Hu Yang, a Jedi Vector, which I think is actually in the poster. So we figure that's going to show up. And I think in a TV spot, we see a little bit of a scene from that. Revan, Darth Bane, Rule of Two. So there's your preview right there, folks. So if you do get a bingo, a natural bingo, let us know and you'll win a really cool, most likely Acolyte related prize. We haven't figured that part out yet because I don't think the whole merchandising blitz has happened. So if there's something really cool that we think would be worth winning, we'll probably assign it to the winner that wins the bingo. So I think that's all we got for now. Good luck, everyone. I hope this show was great. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it's a big hit. Leslie Headland has said that this show is not going to end in a cliffhanger. It's going to be a finite season, but if we like it, we'll get a season 2 and so on. So hopefully we all do. It works out. Dave Filoni was in the VP of a creative role during this show, so there's some influence there. It is a Leslie Headland show, though. That was the mandate from Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy saw the first scripts and story and told Leslie Headland, "This is a great Star Wars story, but we want to see your imprint on it, Leslie Headland." So it's going to have her imprint on it. So I think that's all we got, and hopefully I'll see everyone back for the pre-show. We're going to stream probably about an hour before the first episode drops on Tuesday, so I hope to see everyone there. Continue to comment on our videos, like our videos, subscribe if you haven't, and we're going to be here for you throughout the whole entire season of the Acolyte. And if you have any questions for us, if Lucasfilm is watching and they want to send us a future invite to a red carpet or something, they can contact us at StarWarsStuffPodcast@gmail.com. Of course, if you're watching right now on YouTube, comment, like, subscribe, of course. We're on Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Pod. We're on X/Twitter at Stuff Pod. We're also on Threads at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Of course, all of our awesome supporters on Patreon. You can find us at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on TikTok. We're also on Facebook. If you're watching us there, hit like on the video. We are also, of course, on all your favorite streaming apps. Apple, give us 5 stars if you could. Write a review. Also on Spotify, 5 stars if you could. And that is it. Like I said, good luck to everyone. I hope everyone likes it. I hope this show works out. And for Zach, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
Always.
Thanks, everyone.